point of no return.
Badagry slave route. Point of no return.
Badagry slave route.
By Femi Lasode.
Badagry, the departure route of many able-bodied defenseless men and women who were captured and deported as slaves.
Badagry is a commercial town which has a rural setting, but nevertheless, the town is a compendium of Nigerian history.
Around the 14th century through the 17th century, fleets of slave and missionary galleons sailed all the way from Europe to the shores of the West African coastline, and some came to an area now called Nigeria.
Their arrival was a landmark in the history of Nigeria.
The 17th century was when the slave trade, known as the transatlantic slave trade, reached a peak, with the exportation of Africans to Europe by Portugal was started in the 15th century. Other European countries like Spain, Netherlands, Britain, Denmark, France soon followed suit. It was not until the 17th century, however, that the trade got to North America. It was there that it gained real prominence. Thus, in 1619, a Dutch warship brought the first cargo of 20 African slaves to Virginia in the then British colony called New World.
Badagry slave route. Most of the instruments of oppression that was used to subdue the African people for upwards of 5 centuries are kept there. Some of the instruments used by the slave drivers are chains and metal weapons. Other slave relics include 2 particularly scary instruments which are a clear indication of how cruel the slave trade was. The first is the mouth cover, a spherical metal which was used to prevent the starving slaves from eating what they cultivated. The second was the leg piercer, another instrument of torture which was specially reserved for rebellious slaves. Point of no return, Badagry slave route.
The 5-century-long inhuman trade enmeshed in human rights abuses called the transatlantic slave trade. Cannon guns were often used during the time of the slave trade in Badagry. History confirms that each cannon was exchanged for over 100 slaves. The transatlantic slave trade was a profitable business for the European merchants, providing a booming market for the European manufacturers and companies during this period.
Abolition of the African slave trade.
The abolitionist movement in Britain spearheaded the eradication of the transatlantic slave trade, which lasted between 1783 and 1888. Amongst the British abolitionist leaders were William Wilberforce, Thomas Clarkson, Granville Sharp, John Wesley, and Olaudah Aquino, also known as Gustavus Vassar.
Transatlantic slave trade was abolished in 1888.